Hello and welcome back to the channel and another restoration video this week. This time round I thought I'd go with something a little more straightforward than doing another custom straight away. And yeah, this is the original MPC 1968 Pontiac GTO. Now I thought this would be an interesting one for people just with the pending release of their retooled promo, which I think will be coming out in 2023 at some point. But yeah, it should give you an idea of the rough body proportions, which they're going to be using. Like I say, I think they're using they're basing the retool off an old promo as opposed to the kit, so it will be a bit more basic, but from the pictures I've seen, they've got that thing looking really nice at the moment. It sits so well. Yeah, I think that'll be a nice one for people to buy and sort of detail up themselves. And I think through looking at this one, we might find a few ways of doing that as well. Like I say, this one's the annual 3-in-1 kit, so it's roughly the same body, but there's this one obviously add all the parts to build the full kit. But yeah, we'll take a look at this one before we break it down. Yeah, I mean, I've had this one sitting on the shelf for a long time. I'm not a massive muscle car builder, to be quite fair. I think my heart lays with customs and stuff, but I do like to build a factory stock one every now and again. But yeah, this one comes with the optional hood. I don't think we'll be using this, but I think it used to be a clear part and all transparent part, and it would have been nice to see, regardless of whether we were using it, whether we could have repaired and polished it up to new. But I can already see underneath the paint there's a big crack down the middle of it, so it's not scrap, but we'll probably save it for something else maybe. But yeah, I got the front grills in place. Apologies for some reason blue really doesn't like my camera, so it's a little bit harder to get the focus on this. But yeah, I got the stock grills in place. Looks like the optional front spoiler has been moulded in. So I'm hoping that will just come off, because I really don't want that one there for what the direction we're going with. Door handles look okay. I've noticed that they have taken the rear emblems off the quarter panel. Wheels look like they're off the latest 72 kit. Whether somebody's restored this in the past, I don't know, but paint's not too bad. It looks like it's been done in sort of an automotive style paints. Whether we completely strip this off or just sand it down, prep it for paint, it doesn't look like it's filled up any of the channels. It's quite thinly applied, so there are a couple of options. I've got some new paint stripper I've been wanting to use, but I'm only going to use it if I need to, and if this will prep down to a level where I'm kind of happy with it, then we'll probably use that, and just use primer over the top. It looks like potentially any rear scripts on the trunk lid have gone. Got the annual 68 bumper in there, no tail lights. Very much doubt I have anything which corrects for this, so I might just have to make something up. But looks like the roof's taken a little bit of a knock, hence these chipping marks here. I think that was my only concern about overcoating this paint, is if it's flaking, but it looks like that paint's just come off there just because has been a bit of a knock and it's pushed the roof over slightly, so we will have to warm that up and straighten it out before we do anything. But looks like the last builder was scribed out the doors, but strangely it looks like it's been done after after it's been painted, whether that was just because it maybe filled up them door gaps a little bit too much with paint. I'm not too sure. Or it could have just been somebody else starting another restoration. So yeah, the door's been done and the boot lid. I think we could go quite a bit further with that, to be quite honest. But oh well, yeah. So if it is somebody who was finishing off a build and painted it and started scribing the panels out, and then yeah, that would be, looks like it slips off, and that'd be enough to ruin anybody's day, wouldn't it? But so yeah, I think what we'll do is oh yeah, with the aid of the hood falling off on its own, yeah, it's got the engine, or parts of the engine, and it looks like we're missing a firewall and the radiator support, the main engine blocks there. So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll tear this down, put it on the bench, see what we got, and see what we need to find. So right, I'll see you in a second. Right then, well, that's this one torn down. Didn't take too long at all, to be quite honest with you. There's a few bits which were a little bit more difficult than others, but for the most part, it just pretty much fell apart. So yeah, the wheels which were on it, like I say, I think those are definitely from the later 72 kit. Like I say, you can just see that red plastic bleeding through there, which was, you know, colour of that kit was moulded in the late 70s for that release. But we won't be using them, and plus I pretty much ruined them trying to save the wheel back, so these were some of the more difficult parts to get together and really heavily glued on the back of there. Yeah, the axles were, I mean, I've just had to wash my hands before doing this clip, just because it was the fingers were just absolutely covered in rust and absolutely welded onto these pins here. And yeah, I don't think I'll be using any of this, to be quite honest with you. I think out of all three wheel backs, there was one decent one, maybe two. And I usually use this tool here just to grab hold of it when there's just one left over, and even the more stubborn ones with a bit of a clamp and a pull on there, you can get them off, but that is just solid. So I think I'm just going to scrap pretty much anything I took off there, to be quite honest with you. Rear tyres, I think these are from an MPC 70s stock car kit. Quite nice tyres those. So yeah, they'll be getting saved, and just a random one which will probably get saved for the parts box as well. The chassis. Now I was looking at Round2's pictures, and you know, just to sort of compare what they've got sitting underneath that pending release, and all the detail is pretty much exactly the same. It looks like all the engravings in the same place. And I did read what they put down is that they're going to do a sort of removable engine plate, and through looking at the pictures on their Facebook page, it looks like they've got an engine plate which covers the same hole as has been left out here for this kit version. The other differences I noticed with their retooling is they've corrected all where the screws used to be, and so you got a complete gas tank, and the frame rails aren't recessed either, so they've corrected all that for you. It does look really nice. I think the only difference with that chassis they're doing is it's got the moulded in exhaust system. I don't know whether that's final, or but from just through looking at their pictures, it does look like the exhaust system is moulded into that. It tails over and comes out the sides, but we're going to keep this one a screw bottom. I always like to you know, where possible, just keep it as how the kit was produced. And I mean, this was probably quite a valuable kit, even as a built-up, because the 68s were a rare kit. I think they got, the tooling was modified for 69, but you know, there wasn't a great deal of differences between the options between the 2 years. But yeah, we'll keep this one a screw bottom. But yeah, I think those are the key differences I noticed from the round 2 pictures of that retool promo. So yeah, I mean, we'll get that stripped down. Probably take the paint off it, but in all fairness, it's not too bad. You could, rather than go into too much trouble, you could probably just overcoat that, to be fair, after a few spots are cleaned up. On this one, this is the removable exhaust system. It's very similar to like what they were doing with the MPC Chargers and Mopars at that time. Just a very, very basic separate exhaust and rear axle unit there, but it makes it easier for us to pick that out and do a little bit of a better job on it. The glass, luckily, even though there was that bow in the roof, it's not damaged the glass at all. There's a few scratches in the corner, but that's a nice starting point. There's no glue overhanging the edges. I think it was just glued on the top. Don't know if you can make that out, but that's says 1968 on the top there and GTO on the bottom. It's a nice original piece of glass there. The hood, like I say, I think this used to be a clear part. We aren't going to use this. I've got something else in mind. I do want to put this back to stock, and unfortunately that means sacrificing parts off another kit to complete this build. But I do have an idea in mind what we're going to use for that. The engine, what was in it? It does look like a Pontiac engine to me, but I just started scratching off the top here, and you know, it's blue plastic underneath, so you know, that might have been, bearing in mind that the person who built this had used later issue 72 GTO parts. I think that's potentially from one of the sort of 70s, 80s release Firebirds, the 69 Firebird maybe, or maybe the 67 GTO, which both came moulded in some kind of blue, but I don't know if we'll use that. I'll see what else I've gone, but you know, we may end it, if I can't find anything else, then yeah, we'll definitely use that. But just some more parts we took off the engine, which we're not going to be using, just a blower and what have you, and pulleys and fan belt. Like I say, it's very unlikely we're going to use any of that kind of stuff. But the bumpers, they're going to need stripping and re-chroming. Yeah, the chrome's just too worn on this one to put back onto a freshly built model. So, but it's in good shape. Like I said, we're missing the tail lights. We're going to need to probably fabricate something for them just to make it look something like. But yeah, it's still an original part, so I'm happy to have them. This is the grille, one-piece grille, which slides into from the back. You just make that GTO script out there. So yeah, another good piece to have for the restoration. Interior wise, steering wheel, stock part, interior tub. I did like this bit in here. You don't often see a recessed part to put the gear stick in. It does make it look a little bit more realistic, but And again, I've not seen close-ups of the Round2 interior tub, so I don't know if they're correcting any of this or refining the detail a little bit more. But you know, that's a good look at the interior tub on this one anyway. So front seats weren't too heavily glued in, but they did take a bit of a prod with a screwdriver to get them out of there. But again, nice engraving on those. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to use those. The dash was really heavily glued in. One side broke off, but not onto the main dash part. So that's a definite usable part. They haven't actually done a bad job of detailing that instrument panel. So I might mask that off, do a bit of a black wash, mask it off, and then once it's all done, it still has a little bit of the original built model still remaining. But there's not going to be much else, to be quite honest. It looks like, I don't know if that's how them it's supposed to be, but you know, I'll have to have a look at pictures, because if that's a mould line, we'll take that off, or certainly take the sharp edge off it. Lastly, the body. Again, really, it's not a bad body. This I've seen a lot worse. Yeah, it had this optional part moulded in. As you can see, I've managed to get it off. It looks like I have butchered it off there, but I was quite delicate, to be quite honest, just because I didn't want to damage this lower panel. So it was, I knifed around as much as I could, and then just pulled it back because it was just being held on by the filler ends. So there's a lot of cleanup for the filler, but that's starting to look a bit more like 68 GTO front end. So yeah, well, I think with this we definitely have to straighten the roof. The more I'm looking at it, the more I think I'm just going to strip it. Just for, I mean, I've bought lately a photo etch, model car garage photo etch kit. I'm pretty sure one of them's for a 68, so I'll have to have a look at that. But yeah, even though we might be able to replace them emblems, I'm not too sure whether that's just a sign of how deep that paint actually is, where that lower emblem's sunken in. But yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll warm up the body, get that roof straightened out. I think if it wasn't for this chip in here, which started questioning whether the flakes painting, I might not have even noticed that, to be fair. You can see it on camera now, we're looking at it. But yeah, so we'll straighten that out, and I think we're most likely gonna get this thing stripped, and I'll show you what I'm using. It's a product I've not used before, but we may as well find out together whether it's any good. It's supposed to be like a water-based thing, which is not harmful, and you can use indoors, and it doesn't stink up the place, which I found a lot of other products out there doing. Yeah, I think we'll just see how it goes with that. But right, so next video, most likely have this stripped, have that front end tidied up a little bit, that roof straightened out, and just see how far else we've got. I mean, I think we've got a lot of parts to find as well. We've got to find a new hood, and I think wheels and an engine. So see you in the next clip. Right, I thought I'd just stop and do a quick update. Just regarding this product I bought this about 18 months ago, to be quite honest. I've been buying bits and pieces, knowing I'll get back into the hobby at some point and potentially doing a YouTube channel. So what I was after was, you know, something I can use in the house, because I don't have any outside space at all. I don't have a garage or anything like that where I can use toxic chemicals, and I didn't want the house stinking of solvents or chemicals either. So I saw this stuff on eBay. and it's like I say, it's a water-based product. There weren't really any guidelines on how you use this. It just says apply BioStrip 20 generously onto painted areas, allow the paint to blister or soften, and remove the softened paint by either rinsing or scraping. The time to soften depends on paint type and thickness. Should any paint remain, just repeat the process, wash down and allow it to dry thoroughly before repainting. That's all the warning you get. There's no instructions whether you need to wear gloves or anything, but this is I'm pretty much struggling here. It's a 5 litre tub. You can tell the way when the camera shakes when I put it down, but so to be quite honest, I wasn't too sure how I was going to use this. I decided to strip the body just because I think with the emblems being sanded underneath, I wasn't really too sure what else was underneath the paint, and I thought, well, we'll start with a fresh base, and I have one that's been used in this product. So I was at first going to just fill one of these tubs. That product don't get hot or anything, so I wasn't worried about it distorting or burning through any tubs. I was going to fill the tub and just throw the body in overnight and just see how it went. But then I kind of remembered with some of because this is actually a paste. It's like a thin paste, so it's not exactly a liquid. So some of them, I think it needs air to help move that process along. So all I did was put my body in the tub and just pour a little bit over the top, and then just started brushing it all over it. I'd say because it looked like it had quite a nice finish to it. I wasn't really hoping for much, to be fair. After 5 minutes, it didn't seem to be doing anything, and I just started sort of hitting it with the brush. I've got these cheap stiff brushes from Home Bargains and things like that. Just cheap craft store big brushes to agitate the surface. And I'd say within that first 5 minutes, it was by doing that you started to see paint lift off. This was painted inside and out. I did start straightening that roof as well, but this was painted inside and out, and with just brushing that about, that's 20 minutes later. Absolutely spick and span is that. I've used a lot of products in my past, and that's certainly the best stuff I've used so far. And it's not labelled as a hobby paint remover either. So you're not getting a tenth of that amount for probably 10 times more what they'd charge if it was labelled as a hobby product. This is just a product that's supposed to be safe on plastics and safe to use. The only thing I would say is, like I say, it doesn't give you any health and safety warnings or preferred PPE, but I would recommend using gloves. It was just when I was holding stuff, and even when I was rinsing it under, it leaves like a feeling that you got like super glue on there for a bit. And I knew it wasn't burning through or anything, but as soon as I started feeling that, I should have put them on straight away, but I just put some rubber gloves on, and I don't know what the health and safety is on this stuff, but I certainly wouldn't want anybody to hurt themselves. So I just recommend some gloves. You don't need a respirator or anything. It's not harmful. It doesn't seem to really have any odour at all. But I was really happy with that, to be quite fair. And then I thought I was going to leave the interior tub, the chassis, and just hope for the best, maybe overcoat them. But then I started looking at the interior, and that it looked like it being brush painted, and there was areas where I wouldn't get brush strokes out with sanding and stuff. So I also thought I'd try it on a few different substrates. Is this yeah, this chrome, I popped that in there and that chrome was pretty much gone within 5 minutes. Just popped in there, give it a bit of agitation with a brush a couple of minutes in. 5 minutes later, you know, that's stripped to pretty much new, to be fair. So yeah, so chrome wasn't a problem at all. Both the interior and the chassis, I thought like the interior just had a blue enamel job on top, so that was another type of paint we can use. I think there's probably some kind of acrylic or lacquer based paints on the body. But yeah, I mean, it turned out after I started to do was blue enamel, and then there was like a coat of black over a coat of gold. So that probably took about half an hour to get it to that stage. I'll probably use the last of what I've got in there just to pick out a few more areas, but you know, you're always going to get staining on interiors and chassis just because they've got texture in there, and you know, you're never going to get that staining out. But I've definitely got it to a point where, you know, the paint's out of there and everywhere I need it to be. Like say any difficult areas, it usually sticks around where you got glue in and what have you. But you know, there's no damage to the plastic with that product. Chassis is pretty much the same. Like I say, you're always going to get this staining with chassis and what have you, just because, you know, it's sort of sticking between the grains. And but I think in total they probably had about 40 minutes, just going back every now and again and giving them a bit of a scrub up. But you know, 3 layers of paint, 3 different types of paint on there, and yeah, so I thought that was a bit of a handy tip for us in the UK. I know there's a lot more products in the US which we don't see over here, but like I say, I've used a lot of stuff in the past, but that's certainly been probably one of the best. I thought it's worth throwing in there. Why not make this video longer? You already suffer enough, but yeah, that kind of impressed me. And you know, it takes a lot to impress me. If you take me to go and see the red arrows, I'd just be stood there thinking, yeah, it's all right, like. But yeah, we'll move it on, and I'll see you in the next clip. So in typical channel fashion, I'm always trying to find ways to prolong these videos for you guys, unfortunately. But I mean, this could have been a really quick build, a quick video, so to speak. But I think the whole point of it was to give you guys a bit of a look at what's going to be hitting the shelves from round 2 in the next few months. And if you did want to detail that up, you know, as part of finding parts for this project, you know, there might be some things that may help you detail up that promo style kit a little bit easier at not a great deal of expense. Before we get into that, we'll just have a quick look at the body. I've not really done any prep on this since I stripped the paint yesterday. Once paint was stripped, it doesn't really look like any of that scribing had hit the doors. I think it looked like they were just scribing through paint, and then had that unfortunate mishap on the trunk lid. But so we'll scribe them out because they are quite shallow. Same with the any other panel lines on there. Yeah, we just have to tidy up this filler underneath here, and then that's pretty much all we're going to be doing to it before primer. There's not a great deal. So firewall, I did find some part this is just a builder I had. Pretty rough, but it's got some usable parts. So rather than break into a relatively unbuilt kit, you know, I thought we'd steal the firewall out of that. They're very low detail, to be quite honest with you. I am half tempted to, there's a firewall out of 65, which looks a little bit better, but you know, there'll probably be a lot of work to get that, because it's a little bit shorter on the sides and it's deeper. So what I may do is, because this is pretty much toast as well, there's not much left of it, but we'll use it if we have to. But the other option is I might just make a new part out of sheet styrene and cut some of these details out and add a bit of wiring to the firewall myself. But I'll see how far I want to get into it. But yeah, just poach the firewall, radiator support, couple of shocks out of rear shocks. I pulled the engine out of that one as well, just because it is a bit cleaner. The other one was starting to, it's almost having a reaction on the back, and it was splitting apart. So I think I'll just throw that engine in with that, just as so there's something in with that one once I put it back on the shelf. But yes, hood wise, unfortunately the only option I could come up with, like I say, I do want to restore this 68 to stock, so I bought this off eBay. It was a started kit. It's pretty much the only thing that had been done to it is the other side of the body had been primed. But yeah, we're gonna cut this hood out of this 69 funny car. I think the only difference between this one and the Round 2 hood is that the Round 2 hood has the moulded in hood tack, whereas this one doesn't. I'm thinking of going either one or two ways. It's going to be a full judge in bright orange, or we're going to do more of a base model, you know, which wouldn't, just have a tack delete and potentially some different wheels, and it'll be a different colour. It'll be a much toned down colour if we go the other way. But so yeah, we'll cut out the hood, and at least then we've still got a hood we can use with that, and it's probably more fitting with a drag car anyway. So so it's not a total loss for that kit, and we could still build that one day. Out of that kit also comes some nice decals for the side stripes, and yeah, judge decals we'll only use that if we hit the body with a like the full judge, like say an orange or something like that. So whereas if we're going to do a little toned down version, we probably wouldn't use them. But yeah, that's an option for restoring that, using decals and the hood out of that one. I think so chassis wise, or wheel wise actually, I looked on Round2 and I think it does say that they're going to give you an option of the Rally 1 wheels or the Rally 2 wheels. So if I go with a more base model, I'd use the Rally 1s. These are out of the AMC 1965 Pontiac GTO. I'm really steering towards these, to be quite honest with you. If I'm going to do it as a judge, I think so. Looking at the pictures, these are the Rally 2 wheels, which will come with a kit. I think they were used a lot on the promos. They also came in the Firebird 69 Firebird, which this is off. The only things with these, and I don't know if it's my eye but they always looked a bit shallow, these wheels. Another option, I mean, I don't like to say, I don't know if it's my eye or if I'm just seeing things or what have you, but you know, the 67 GTO and the 72 GTO have the same wheels, but the rims on these, they just, like the outer rims, they just look fractionally deeper. They do look more realistic, but again, I really don't know if it's just a trick on my eye but these ones have always seemed a bit too shallow. But I mean, if you're in the same mindset and seeing the same thing as me, then you know, you've got an option to use the 72 or 67 kit for some very marginally slighted deeper rims. So yeah, so you got a couple of more options there for wheels if you wanted to upgrade that Round 2 kit a little bit. But chassis wise, I haven't painted any of these parts yet. I've pretty much done nothing with them since yesterday. But obviously the Round 2 kit comes with a moulded in exhaust system, but there are pros to that chassis. Like I said before, they've corrected the gas tank and what have you. But if you did want a separate exhaust system, this chassis is pretty much identical to the 68. It's got, this is the 1980 MPC release. So yeah, this will have the same chassis plate pretty much, but then you either have to transplant the gas tank out of the promo kit onto there and fill those frame rails to accommodate for where they've been sort of rounded out for them screw the old original screw base pin marks. So you can use the 72. I think the only difference between this 80 release and the later ones, which I've seen all you guys buying Walmart for $8 a piece, is obviously got to cut off this rear panel here, or alternatively you can just use the 67 chassis, which eliminates all this problem here, and potentially something I might use on this build. I really don't want to not use that chassis, to be quite honest, but if I was that way inclined, and I wanted to make this a really highly detailed model, I'd probably end up going with the 67 chassis, just because you don't have, you don't need to get involved in all that work there. Gas tank is pretty much the same. I would say that's, that is going to be your best chassis to detail up the newer Round 2 release. Also that's the original exhaust system from the 68 kit. Again, these are very basic, but just looking through the differences, there's a slightly different rib panel on these and on the 72 GTO, and the exhaust goes off in a bit of a different direction on the sides, whereas the 67 is probably closer to the 68, just the way the exhaust pipes locate to the chassis. So yeah, I mean, I think really I think we've found all the parts we need. I'm not going to go down the full route on this one. I do want to keep the original screw chassis. But again, it was just a bit of a tip for you guys. I know you guys. There's people out there, let's say, that absolutely hate the 67 and 72 GTO. I'm not really in that camp. I think it's a bit of moaning about not a great deal. I mean, but that's how I am going to get down that rabbit hole. And then if you do decide to use any of those kits to detail up the Round 2 kit, then at least it's on your own build quality that you can blame for how that modification goes together. So yeah, moving on. Not a great deal else with this. Just saw some wheel backs. I've got a bag of 65 GTO bits here, which I've just been keeping. So every time I find something, I'll just throw it in there. It's got a nice original vinyl roof, which was later smoothed out for later releases. That might come in handy for either a 65 restoration or potentially doing that 64 Tempest I showed you in the Ford restoration video. So, but yeah, we'll move this along. Like I say, thanks for watching and sticking through the video. But again, it's just things like this which I thought would be relevant for this video and the upcoming release from Round 2. And you know, if it helps you a little bit, and like I say, I know that these kits are all cheap Walmart kits, the 72 and the 67. So you know, if you refuse to build them because of the build quality, then yeah, I think that's the Walmart one I keep on seeing being flashed around. But yeah, if you, like I say, if you don't want to build them kits, then at least there's a source of parts for you to put a bit more effort in and detail up that Round 2 kit a little bit more. But yeah, we'll get this into primer, get that body sorted. I think the next time you'll see it'll be in primer. And interior chassis moved on a little bit further, and probably the engine. But okay, see you in the next clip. Right, just a quick update of where we are. As you can see, we're a little bit further on. In the meantime, I have just, regarding that paint stripper I was showing you in one of the other clips, I do, bearing in mind I bought that 18 months ago, so I did have a feeling that the prices may have changed in the meantime, just like everything else in the world, unfortunately. I think I paid $36.99 for it, and in that time I think it's now $46 or $47.99 for 5 litres. But putting it into perspective, while I was looking at that, I did see other products which are aimed at the hobby, and you know, for 250 millilitres of another product, that's £13. You know, you're getting a lot more for your money, and like I said, they're not directing it at the hobby, so that's probably why you're getting so much more for the price you pay. I did also notice that the labelling's changed, so I will, and there's only one seller, it's actually the company itself who sell on eBay, so I'll put them in the description, the seller name in the description and the product number. If you can't find that, just drop them an email. Just say you've seen this stuff on a YouTube video or something, and you know, you just want to know what the matching product is nowadays. But I'm pretty sure they will still do it. So moving on, as you can see, yeah, we've chosen the body colour. Now, I did want GM Fedora green. I think it was produced in 68, 69. It's probably my favourite colour on the late 60s GM cars. But again, with us being in the UK, getting stuff like that, it's not that easy at all. I was looking online, I think somewhere in Germany did it, but by the time it got, it would have been 3 or 4 weeks, and it was expensive for the amount you got. So, because my history is a car painter, or I mean, I've not done that for 8 or 9 years now, but you know, that's what I was doing since I was 15 years old. And I'm also quite a big classic BMW enthusiast. I've had a lot of individuals, the individual line where they do special order colours and things like that. And I did remember they did a colour called malachite green. Now that's the code there, and it is extremely similar to Fedora green. So Fedora's got almost a gold tint under the paint, showing through the green. So this BMW malachite is very similar. This is an 80s, 90s colour, but it looks like BMW customers have started getting their sort of imagination back, because they stopped all these individual colours. I mean, I had a velvet blue 7 Series, I've had scarab green, Avis blue. There's a lot of individual colours I've had in real cars, and yeah, so this is actually relaunched as well. So and you might be thinking, why can't do? So I got this mixed up at a local automotive paint place, but they don't hold microfishes for that kind of, you know, the mixing ratios for American cars. So you just kind of got to think on your head. So yeah, that's what I went with. It's just a solvent base. I bought it from a place called Parry's in York. Really good set of guys, known them years, and yeah, that's it's really good for, you know, basing up these cars, because if you do make a bit of a mistake, you can just wait 5 minutes for it to flash off and just sand it off. But so yeah, I mean, you can't really tell because it hasn't got a clear coat on, but once the clear coat's on there, the gold will really sort of pop through there, that gold tone. I've just got it on mock-up wheels. I used them Corvette wheels, which came with the 64 Thunderbolt I did. But the other thing, I've added a little bit of there's so much void in this engine bay. I did want to detail it up a little bit. None of it's accurate to the real car, but I just added a fan shroud on to build up that void between the engine and the fan on it. This was just in the parts box, this bit. I did have it much more elaborate, but I think it was off as the part of the core support from the 62 AMG 62 Impala, and I, like I say, I had it a lot more elaborate, but then I forgot about the grille, so I had to cut pieces out and just make that bonnet catch sit in the notch between the grille. I had to scratch build a firewall on it. That firewall, which I was going to take off that builder, yeah, that was neither used nor ornament. It's too thin and it was all warps from the glue and what have you. This is another one I did. The wiring's a bit bigger on this one. This was the first attempt. But all I did was make a template of the original part, and I just started. I think it goes that way up. Yeah, I think so. I just made a template of the part, and I think this is from a 65 GTO, and I just started cutting some of them details off, and I just glued them to the firewall which I made. On this one, I've moulded it into the scuttle panel, so it's all one piece now. The underside, I've just started detail painting it. I mean, I basically sprayed the whole thing black, and this is all done with aerosols. And then once black was dry or starting to dry, I just started painting, dusting across with some sort of red primer. And then when I was painting the body, I just dusted a bit of the body colour up the sides as well. I've got to detail it all up. I've got to paint the frame rail. I'll do the frame rails by hand and what have you. But you know, that's starting to look like a half decent thing, and we'll get to see more of the detail in there once, you know, I've picked it out with paint, and I think in the next clip I'll have it all ready for pre-assembly, so it'll all be apart anyway, so we'll have a better look at it then. The engine, yeah, we just got that painted up. I actually used the same paint as I used on the 64 Fairlane for the main body colour, just because it looks similar to the Pontiac engine blue. Interior, just started. This is going to be the base colour. It's going to be, I'm going for a really sort of classy look on this one. So yeah, white with Fedora green, or what I want it to look like, Fedora green, and we're not too sure what I'm going to go with the contrasting colour, whether the carpets are going to be green or black. I mean, I've not decided yet. But yeah, we've got all the pieces painted now for the interior, the seats and what have you, and steering wheel. Just all the ancillaries have pretty much been based up. Got the exhaust painted in silver. We'll pick out that rear axle in black or something. Add a bit more detail to that. I didn't base up the hood yet, because as it looks like it was ready to go, and then I did notice when I was passing over with the primer, but those I'll just wet my finger a little bit, but yeah, you can. It was very hard to see with the naked eye, and then when I passed over with the primer, when it was wet, it really did show up where the body pins used to be underneath this 69 GTO hood. So I thought it was pointless taking that any further, so we'll get them corrected before I paint it. Another good product, this is new to me. I mean, I really don't want to mess about with airbrushes and trying to figure out that chrome paint. I just lose the will to live after some time. So I saw this online on eBay when I was searching chrome paint. I mean, I was going to buy some of the Alclad stuff and mess about with that, but I saw that online, and I've actually, since I bought this, this was what I was waiting for with the 64 Fairlane, but yeah, since I bought this, I found a few other people, a few other posts online saying this is really good stuff, and I've just given this one coat so far because I wanted to see what it was like once it was dry. I mean, this is probably painted a couple of hours ago now, and like I say, it's a thin coat, so there's a bit of speckling underneath it, but I don't think the camera really does it justice. And for the ease of actually painting, I've never used anything which is quite as good as that, to be quite honest. Like I say, you'll see it's a bit speckly because I was just going light on it, but it seems, yeah, touch dry now. It doesn't mar up when you're brushing your hand against it. Because I wanted to know whether I needed to clear coat this or not. I really don't think I'm going to be bother with that, to be fair. So yeah, you only get 150 milliliters. It's not a massive tin, but when you think you're only using it for bumpers, and you know you're not painting bodies with this, well, I mean, you can paint a body with it if you want. You know, it's really easy to use. You know, the nozzle on it's a good nozzle, so it's not one of the fan ones. That body colour actually came with a fan one, and I really don't like them for this kind of work. But yeah, really impressed with that. So in the space of one project, we found two products which work really well. So yeah, we'll get another coat on that next time we've got the spray booth out. And the last thing, I think, yeah, I found the photo etch kit. I mean, I think these are really meant for the 1/24, so I'm not going to be using the grills or anything. But there's some we're missing emblems. There's emblems in there we can use. So yeah, I was quite lucky to find that, because they're really hard to come by in the UK. I think I paid a tenner for this one, and another tenner for this one. So while I was thinking about that, if anybody has a 66, 67 GTO one in the UK, or a 71 Plymouth Roadrunner, send me a message, because I'll buy them off you. I've got a few projects which I can use those on, but like I say, really hard to find in the UK, and to get these shipped over from America, you are paying twice as much for shipping and custom, and it just works. I mean, these will work out about £37 by the time you get these over here with the customs charges. So anyway, I think next time you'll see this, it'll be ready for final assembly. We'll have the chrome foil done, we'll have it clear coated, and all ready to go. So not too much longer with this one now, so we'll see you in a minute. Right then, so we're at final assembly stage now. We've done quite a bit since the last clip. There was quite a lot of work still left in it, but we're pretty much there, ready just to glue this thing together and call it done. So I'll quickly just show you the grill and bumper. I just gave that a quick blast over with that Revell chrome paint, and then just gave it a black wash just to highlight the grills and that GTO emblem in there. I did give the back of it a coat of satin black, just because that's going to be in the engine bay, and it's a lot of chrome just to have right under the bonnet. So I thought I'd just tie that in with the rest of the engine bay and paint that satin black. The rear bumper, we just gave that, and I think we only gave it one coat on the last clip. That's now fully painted. Come out really nice. Like I say, I think even since the last clip, I've seen other videos, more and more videos come out about this stuff, and I don't think there's much bad being said about it. So yeah, so they're ready to glue in. Obviously we're missing some headlamps, tail lamps, sorry. So I just found some of these in the parts box. They were about 5mm too big and a little bit too wide. So I just cut down the end of those, and then beveled the edges, rounded the edges off so they fit into that rear tail light panel. They're not going to be 100% correct, but you know, I think for a restoration, at least we got something in there. So the chassis, that's pretty much all put together now. The engine's being wired up as much as I can at this point. I did forget to mention in the last clip that built engine, I ended up stripping it right down, even cut the engine halves back in half, and just because it was glued together a bit janky, and they don't go together that well, these engines. But all I did was, I mean, there's the fit problems with the engine, but it's just like every single part you put on before you put it on, you know, you file down the surfaces until they're flat. I think the intake manifold, you know, that pretty much rocks, so you have to file the top of the engine down. But the air cleaner was just out of the parts box. But I mean, I think that was as pretty correct as I could get by looking at the photos. I think most GTOs have chrome valve covers, but I did want it to look really pretty much base. This one's just got a bit of wiring in the battery. Like I say, this core support, the main part was from the 72 GTO kit, but we did add the fan shroud on there, and a little bit of this, like the hood catch support, and some horns for the front. And the only other thing we got in there is the screen wash bottle. Now, because I think this was actually a Johan part, and it was molded in that turquoise colour. So after I painted it white, I sanded it down. The lower part, I sanded the lower part down and just clear coated it, just so it looks like it's got a bit of fluid in there. But you know, that the engine bay is coming out pretty well now. Wheels, it's probably the first time you've seen these Rally 1 wheels. I've been mocking up on them old Corvette wheels before, but yeah, we got them. The insides painted like an aluminium colour. Before I did that, I dropped some flat black into the recesses, and after the grey was painted, I gave it a black wash. Now I know the GTOs, they didn't have red centre caps, but I did, because it's like a base looking model, I did kind of like that look on the 68 Charger. So just to add a bit of colour, it's a dark colour on this one. I thought I'd just drop a bit of Tamiya red clear in those. But yeah, and I just use some more new old stock AMT cross plies. We're not going for any aggressive look on this. This is more of a family car GTO, I would say. Another thing, I didn't notice that the engine support wasn't there anymore, so I just made something else out of scrap. But I mean, this has just been detail painted. This is the chassis that everybody hates. But, you know, all I've done with this is use a mixture of aerosols to come up with a half decent looking chassis. Yeah, the red primer and the black primer, and just dusting over a bit of that body colour over the sides. Then I just picked out the frame with gloss black. Got the exhaust and rear axle glued in. Now we all know this rear this exhaust and what have you doesn't fit too well. But again, it's just a case of filing it down. The actual exhaust pipes are far too long, so you end up missing the bottom of the headers by quite a bit. So all I did was just cut those there, and once you've got your engine glued in place, all you have to do is take a bit out of this section you've cut off until it lines up, and for me that is really good enough for a chassis. In all fairness, I take more enjoyment out of painting up these old chassis than I do with a newer tool multi-piece chassis. I'd just rather paint stuff than mess about trying to glue tiny parts in. But like I say, I mean, that's turned out to be quite a nice chassis and engine bay. Yeah, we've added stuff in there just out of the scrap box, but you know, with a bit of extra effort, you can make these things look a little bit better. Interior. Now, I did put a bit of black flocking on the carpet. Obviously, last time you saw this, it was just in the white base colour. I put a bit of Tamiya black washing in all these pleats and seams and what have you, and then just buffed the seats up again, just so it leaves minimal shadowing in there. But I think they were just too white without that. Also, as we were using the photo etch for the missing emblems and scripts on the body, I thought I'd use some of those in there. So we got the brake pedals in there, the steering wheel trim, the handles with the door window handles we've used, and the door handle. The keys, I didn't want to muck about putting them into the steering column, so I just threw them on the center console and glued them in place. But yeah, I mean, that's it looks like a nice chassis. I was after just a white and black on interior on this one. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much just ready to glue in there now. So body wise, so obviously we just based it up in that BMW colour to sort of look a little bit like Fedora green. It's really hard to pick up on this light, but you know, you have got gold showing through there. With obviously bare metal foiled it before we cleared it, but again, the clears come out quite nice. Sort of start seeing that gold tint to the paint underneath. But so yeah, we used the photo. It's the first time I've ever used photo etch, to be fair, and hats off to you guys who put a load of this into your model cars, because you know, it's very, very tricky work, and you know, I wouldn't want to do it on every single model, put it that way, and certainly not to the detail level that a lot of you guys go to. But yeah, but that's looking quite nice now. Like I say, we got a nice shine on that. That was just clear coated in Halford's clear, and then we just give it a bit of a polish. But yeah, we've got a good, nice, deep shine to that paint. That was just 2 coats, and then just give it a bit of a nip down. Again, there wasn't any bits of dirt in it. It's just it always just looks better with a bit of a polish. But yeah, so that's pretty much there. I think all we've got now is the hood really. So yeah, that turned out nice as well. So we just got that foiled up, clear coated. Yeah, just painted the underside of the hood. I do paint the undersides of bodies just in black craft paint, just because once you put the chassis on it, 9 times out of 10, if you haven't painted it, you're either going to see sort of you know, there's going to be a bit of white plastic showing through just in one of the gaps, and it's going to annoy you to death. So I just painted the headline white. I know it's a bit it's just craft paint, but you know, you really don't see it in great detail once the car's level. So I wasn't gonna. That was just 2 coats, and that was enough. But yeah, I mean, just painting the inside of the body's black, it just, if you've masked it at all, it just saves you seeing any lines, edges of the masking tape where you've sprayed in. Obviously, you know, once that's on there, you shouldn't see any white plastic or masking or overspray or anything like that. So it just tidies it up a little bit for me. So, but yeah, next clip, we'll have this all glued together. It'll be done, and we'll move on to the next one. So then, well, after about an hour or so of putting this one together, doing all the final assemblies, I think we can call this one done now, and I'm really happy with the way this one's turned out. It has been quite a lot of work, especially for a factory stock. I thought it'd be more straightforward, but as in any restoration, you get held up by missing parts or bits and pieces what you need to do. And obviously with this being one of the GTO kits, MPC GTO kits, there's some fit issues that you have to tackle, but again, there's nothing in those kits which will stop you building a nice model. Really happy with the colour choice, even though I couldn't get that Vidaro green. I think that BMW individual malachite green was a good substitute. You know, it goes well. I'm really happy with the Rally 1 wheels on those white band tyres. And yeah, I know that centre cap colour isn't correct, but I think it just, with that darker colour, it just sets it off a little bit, gives it a little bit more eye appeal. The photo etch scripts really works well on this one. I mean, it's lucky we had them because all the scripts were sanded off. So luckily that model car garage pack has both 68 and 69 emblems in there. Really happy with the way the paint turned out. Got a really nice finish on that using that Halford's clear lacquer, and it does take a bit of polishing here and there, and it's by no means perfect, but you know, it's got a really nice deep gloss to it. So but yeah, the contrasting white interior I think works really well with that colour. Yeah, it's just turned out really nice. Like I say, I couldn't be happier with it, to be quite honest. It was the look I was after. I went on Google and had a look at a few ones, and you know, I think on the first car in the search was a Vidaro green GTO with the rally wheels on, and I thought that's definitely the way I wanted to go with this one. And just take it off here for now, just destroying the set, so to speak. But yeah, we'll just have a bit of a closer look at it. like I say, I think those wheels really suit the colour. Always had it in my mind that I wanted to do a lower end car, but more of a base model car. But just with paint detail and what have you, you know, that's turned out really nice. I didn't put a front number plate on. The reason being is I wanted to keep the 68, just because this is an annual. I wanted to keep the 68 numbers in the rear number plate, so putting one on the front would have looks a bit daft. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I just don't think I could be much happier with that, to be quite fair. Engine bay looks good. Like I say, I know none of this is correct really, but just to fill all that real estate, that empty real estate in there, just adding the fan shroud and what have you, you know, that filled up a little bit, you know. It's but yeah, I mean, that's just a really nice shelf model now. That's all I build. I don't build contest winners or anything like that, but you know, even the chassis, this is again what you'd see in the 72 and 67 GTO. I mean, that just looks really nice for me. That's good enough for me. I mean, if you really wanted to go one step further, you can use the MPC 69 Oldsmobile. That'll give you a much more detailed chassis, but I know they're probably a little bit more expensive, and I was just, you know, like what I said about using the 72 and 67, they're much more available and probably cheaper if you wanted to use a donor kit to detail up the new Round 2 release. One thing I did forget when I was showing the interior in the last one, the dashboard isn't correct for a 68. This was the original 68 annual kit part, but yeah, it is incorrect, so I don't know whether that's where Round 2's putting in new tooling, but if not, I mean, to be quite honest, I wouldn't have known had I not been looking at so many Google pictures of these. But you know, I think like I say, it's turned out to be a really nice shelf model, so yeah, I think that'll look really good in a display case or up on the shelf, or like most of my built ones, they end up in a plastic bag in a drawer. So, but I have started buying individual display case for these ones I'm building for YouTube. So, but yeah, I mean, like I say, really pleased with that. You know, I think every angle it looks good. So I think the last thing to do is we'll just put this in the photo box again. We'll get this video signed off, and we'll get moved on to the next restoration. Right then, well, if you've made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you. I know these restorations are long videos, but hopefully there's bits and pieces in there that you've enjoyed and you found interesting, and will help you on your way if you do want to detail up one of these, one of the Round 2 68 GTOs. I just thought I'd put it in the light box for this last bit, just to show it a bit better light than I have on the bench. But like I say, really happy with it. For those who are a little bit disappointed that I've not done a judge, well, as I've mentioned in a few of the previous videos, I have been working on a second project at the same time as doing this one. So that 69 GTO funny car, which I took the hood off to use on this one, well, I'm going to be putting that one to factory stock as well. So I want to do it kind of like a matching pair, but that one's going to be a 69 judge. We've pretty much finished that one up. Also want to apologise for the length in time that's elapsed between the last video. Like I explained in that one, we've just been having really bad broadband issues for uploading these videos. it's still ongoing, unfortunately, but I have found a temporary solutions. Again, if you've subscribed, watched my previous videos, commented on my previous videos, I really want to thank you, because I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and it does help me get back to the bench and carry on with these things despite everything else which is going on. So like I said, I'll have another video up for full build video, that's 69. I'll probably put it on in a few days, maybe 4 or 5 days, and I'll put another little video in between that. But yeah, there's a lot more to come, and once I get my broadband sorted, then I'll be in a bit better space to do these videos, because I can just shoot and upload them. I don't have to mess about going to my partner's house to upload the videos, to save myself 14 hours of pure misery while it shuts the broadband off, and it's just ridiculous. Once again, I just want to thank you all. Please, if this is the first time watching one of the videos, please like, share and subscribe. The channel is growing. I think we're around 150 subscribers at the moment, and it means a lot to get to even that number in 3 or 4 weeks. We'll keep plugging away, and I'll take some pictures of this and just put them at the end of the video. There might be a few build pictures in there, but I don't think I took too many of this one. But yeah, we'll take some nice pictures, put them at the end of the video, and then we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.